Okay, I wrote some notes during that, and I want to go over those notes. Then we're going to give the number out and open the phones up and get into the government grab of health care. And I'm not taking these in any particular order. This is their way through the fear of global warming to not just tax you, but set up a global agreement for weather modification. And there's actually a 1970s UN treaty that the U.S. and others signed on to on weather weapons. So see, while they've been telling you none of this existed, now being declassified incrementally, because they're getting ready to go public with it. While they've been busy manipulating and testing all of this, they now tell you that they're just now getting around to testing it. So they want to set up a global weather bureau, and Bill Gates has been given all of the secret technologies, because it's now declassified 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, for sulfur dioxide from aircraft, sulfur dioxide from blimps. We have the documents. Associated Press, you name it, reported on it. I just said, oh, look, there's Ben Livingston. They say he's the main inventor. Call him up. Yeah, we control hurricanes. It was all certified. I don't know why they let these hurricanes do what they did. I talked to other meteorologists and experts. They go, yeah, these hurricanes like Katrina don't act like hurricanes normally do. You got double eyes in some of them, strange behavior. Aircraft seen spraying while this is going on. They can strengthen them or weaken them. So you have a global weather bureau they openly want to set up. Bill Gates has now said this. We predicted they would do this years ago because we know how they operate. We have enough info. We understand their program. They create the crisis, whether real or manufactured. They offer the solution. It goes on. Again, they sell it all with climate fear. The public thinks, well, if they're going to put blimps up in the upper atmosphere and aircraft and spray us, why, it must be real if the government's doing this. It's a giant corporate boondoggle, a new global weather bureau that we'll spend hundreds of billions a year on, already going on secretly, now being declassified. It takes global agreements to get this set up, which is what they want, globalization. It can also cover what they're doing and cover all their weather weapon programs that are happening. NASA reported 3 years ago that the Earth in the last decade has become 20% darker than in the 100 years it was accurately measured before that. Because there's all this new hazy cloud cover formed by the chemtrails. That's just the low altitude aerosol spraying. When I use chemtrail, that's the colloquial common term for it. They have literally thousands of documents they declassified this year where Department of Energy, Department of the Army, Department of the Air Force, they're just all out spraying globally. And it's all black budget and secret how much they're spending. It's giant program manipulating the weather. The Earth is now 20% darker at least. I mean, we're living in the middle of Buck Rogers, folks, but the general public doesn't understand it. Continuing, he says, yes, we'll use the same software that we've used for the global warming models, all centralized, fraud-driven by United Nations groups. So more scams. You'll never know what they're really doing. It's a cover for their weather weapons and weather manipulation. And then they say, oh, well, we'll test this on a small scale. They've already been testing on a giant scale with HARP, and that's just one location. They've got them in Europe on record, smaller stations all over the country where the Pentagon admits they're testing it and ionizing the atmosphere along with the barium salts, aluminum dioxide, sulfur dioxide they're projecting. When he said these things reflect back into space, that's only a small part of it. They also form nuclei for clouds. That's the main driver, according to the climatologist we've interviewed here. It's the nuclei, the potash, other things that we put into the atmosphere form nuclei, smokestacks, forest fires. But even more importantly, space dust, micrometeors coming in by the millions every day. That's a conservative estimate. Those are breaking up in the atmosphere, forming nuclei that water particles freeze onto in the upper atmosphere, becoming larger, micro hail. Then as it comes into the lower atmosphere, it heats back up, creating water vapor that you know as clouds. You understanding this? So when they say test on a small scale, there's no way to test these technologies on a small scale and know what it's going to do in the giant Terra scale or planetary geo scale. Okay? So test on the small scale. What a fraud. They're already testing on a giant scale. You just weren't supposed to know about it. Now they're going public with it, namely because they want to publicly use it. And since 1995, researchers, meteorologists, scientists, people have gone up in aircraft behind the chemtrails. They said it's barium salts, aluminum dioxide, sulfur dioxide. It's being dispersed in jet fuel. We've done studies. You could clearly do this and have it disperse the nuclei. Then John P. Holdren, White House science czar, who also wrote the book Eco Science, calling for putting stuff in the water to sterilize you and your family, and he wants a planetary government, read his own book. He comes out and says, we got jets that are going to spray the clouds and create clouds to protect you from global warming. 3 years ago, government-approved textbooks nationwide in public schools, 2 of them came out for 7th and 8th graders, used all over the country, where they teach the kids the government is spraying trails to create sunscreen to protect you. So, see, they're teaching the kids. It's like Time Magazine for kids in 2 different issues. One 5 years ago, one 3 years ago that I know of. I was sent this. They have Time Magazine free for kids in school. Federal government pays for it. And it says, your parents don't understand the future. They're old-fashioned, but you're cool. You're going to take a microchip that you're going to buy and sell with. And then no one will be able to take your identity. See, they're teaching your kids they're chemtrailing. They're teaching your kids that microchips are good. They're teaching your kids global warming's real and to come home and rebuke you. That's on the news now. We told you about it before it was on the news. It's a total scientific dictatorship. They're manipulating the weather. They're manipulating our genetics. I haven't even gotten to this yet. Last night, we're up here working late on a film. I ordered for the office a couple Papa John's pizzas. And I don't consider it total junk food, but it certainly is fattening. And the pizzas come in, and I'm putting pepper. I love pepper. I'm dumping a whole packet of pepper on my pizza. And I read the label, and it says crushed red peppers treated with radiation. Zoom in on this for me. Crushed red peppers treated with radiation. And you're going, what does this have to do with chemtrailing? What does it have to do with genetic engineering? Ladies and gentlemen, I can't describe to you the information I know that is publicly available and mainstream news. I can't begin to even, look, I mentioned last night how 5 years ago, in 2004, the EPA approved spraying live viruses on most meat. And people don't believe me. Here's New York Times. Agency approves first use of viruses as food additive, live viruses. Here is ABC News. Viral meat spray, advancing food safety. I have newscasts where they say mercury is good for your children's brains and that melamine is good for babies when it kills people. The government says that they want to put lithium in your water. The government admittedly puts over 150 chemicals in your water already that cause cancer and sterilize you. Ladies and gentlemen, do you understand what's going on?